Hi, we're just going to pretend like I don't look like a hot sweaty mess and that you don't see the unmade bed behind me and the curtains closed. We are in a weird May heat wave here in the UK at the moment, and so everyone is melting, my brain is melting, but it's almost June, which means it's time to start our June TBR Reading Spa reading vlog. Hopefully you're familiar with what the TBR Reading Spa is all about now. If you're not, then mine and Jen of Jen the Librarian's announcement videos to what this reading challenge is all about will be linked in the description below. But essentially we are picking from our home libraries and celebrating the books that we own, reading in a very casual way through our own TBRs this year in our year 2026. To help us along the way, we have created a silly little quiz each month to guide us to one of 3 prompts. So let's have a look and see what June has in store. June questions and prompts. The 3 prompts that we could end up with this month are: read a book about identity, read a queer book, or read a book that you hope will bring you joy. Extra points if you can guess the theme for this month's reading challenge. Remind me also at some point in this vlog to show you the Storygraph, because when it's prompts like this, it's quite fun to go through everybody that's taking part in the Storygraph challenge and try and guess which prompts people have chosen books for. So if I remember, I will try and show you that too a bit later on. Okay, so for me, how do you celebrate books that you've loved? Our options are that you recommend them to everyone, you reread them, or you attend an author event. Okay, so I definitely do recommend books that I've loved to lots of people. However, I will caveat that by saying a lot of the books I love are not suitable to be recommended to everyone. I tend to enjoy books that maybe come with a little bit of misery. That are quite kind of like light and dark, and so perhaps they're not necessarily the books that I really love, like real Kerry books aren't necessarily books that are suitable to be recommended to everyone, but I do shout about them. I am not a rereader, so it's definitely not that option. I do love an author event. I go to lots, I think, by like your average person's standards. Friends tell me that I seem to go to a lot. So I do love an author event. So I'm inclined to say this one, which takes me along to: do you queue to get your book signed? So if we've gone to an author event, do you queue to get your book signed? Annoyingly, sometimes is my answer. So it's neither yes or a no. Do I go with what I usually do, which would be a yes, or what I did at the last book event I went to, which was a no? Make a decision, Kerry. Okay, I'm going to say yes, because I often do, probably more times than not. So I'm going to read a book that I hope will bring me joy. I'm hoping we will have loads to choose from, because clearly my own shelves should bring me joy. But let's have a little think about what we should go for. If you hear heavy breathing, it's because Brennan has just joined me. He's having a drink. We've got water all over the house because it's a very hot day. Okay, so a book that will bring me joy. I'm wondering about Thunderhead. I haven't tried any Miranda Darling, but this cover certainly brings me joy. And I picked up the sequel to it in the summer, Fireweather. So that might be quite a good one to get started with. I think it's meant to be like darkly comic, which is a bit of me. So that's an option. One Last Song might be a really good option, actually. This I think I saw recommended by Bob Bookerer. It's about 2 gentlemen in a care home, I think, and there might be a budding romance. That sounds pretty joyful. So we're going to keep that as an option. Dear Dickhead. That would probably bring me joy. Self-romancing, that's probably, I mean, that kind of fits in terms of theme, but it's teeny tiny, and I know it's very vignette-y inside, so that won't be very interesting to read for a vlog. We love a short book, but maybe not that short. Elizabeth von Arnim brings me huge amounts of joy. She's an absolute favourite author, and I'm working my way through her backlist. So we're going to have that as an option. Palm Meridian I'm saving for a holiday, as a holiday read. I mean, Welsh books bring me joy, so Unspeakable Beauty could fit in there. Swimming brings me joy, I could be that literal. This is a fairly new release from the International Booker long list. I don't know if it was shortlisted. I'm not sure, knowing what I do about this book, that it will bring joy, so we'll save that for another day. Karis Davis is another favourite author, but I've got a feeling this is a short story collection, which I don't love, so we'll put a pin in that, and I would quite like to read it with Charlie, because she is also a Karis Davis stan. Okay, I think there's plenty of options, like loads of these books that I'm looking at. Oh, Chris McCausland, Keep Laughing. I mean, literally, it's called Keep Laughing. That's very joyful. Yeah, okay, yeah. So, all right, well, that's 4 options. So that's not bad going. Well done, team. Okay, let's have a look through our choices. The first of which is Miranda Darling's Thunderhead, picked because the cover brings me joy. Look at those pearls on the front, just shining away on that gorgeous sky. Okay, so this is what it says about Thunderhead. A black comedy set in suburbia about one woman's struggle to be free. When Winona Dalloway begins her day in the peaceful early hours before her children, that tiny tornado of little hands and feet, wake up, she doesn't know that by the end of it, everything in her world will have changed. On the outside, Winona is seemingly unremarkable young mother, unobtrusive, quietly going about her tasks, but within is a vivid, chaotic self, teeming with voices, a mind both wild and precise. And meanwhile, a storm is brewing. And it says somewhere on the back, one of the blurbs says it's darkly funny, astute and timely. That does sound like a wee bit of me. We do love a black comedy. Okay. One Last Song by Nathan Evans. This sounds real cute. A gentleman called Joan lands up in a care home like a colourful, combustible cocktail, ticking. A gentleman called Jim doesn't know what's hit him. Everything about his new next-door neighbour is triggering. Battle begins. May the best man win. But beneath antics and antique armour plating, what are both hiding? Maybe they've more than a wall in common. Might they even be batting for the same team? A romantic comedy about grey liberation. Well, that sounds delightful. Okay, strong contender. And I'm also thinking, like, so you know how I was like stuck on answering the last question, and one prompt was to read a queer book and one prompt was to read a book that brings me joy. This one could potentially tick both of those boxes. Okay, The Solitary Summer by Elizabeth von Arnim. Elizabeth von Arnim is my absolute queen. Oh God, this writing is tiny. Okay, The Solitary Summer takes readers on a captivating journey into the Victorian era, where the protagonist embarks on a profound exploration of self amidst the tranquil embrace of a countryside retreat. Set against the backdrop of Victorian society, the book delves into the world of domestic life, offering poignant reflections of its joys and challenges. Seeking solace and self-discovery, Elizabeth decides to escape the confines of urban life and immerse herself in the therapeutic power of nature, horticulture and personal growth. It goes on, but that all sounds, oh, it sounds so good. I want to read them all right now. Oh, this was a dangerous prompt. Like, find a book that brings you joy. They all bring me joy. I want to read them all. Why do we have to work? This is just so unfair. Okay, tantrum over. The last one is Chris McCausland's memoir, Keep Laughing. Chris McCausland is a British comedian who came to fame on, I want to say, Britain's Got Talent. He is blind and he is hilarious, absolutely hilarious. We've seen him do stand-up a couple of times and he's just absolutely brilliant. So yeah, that's a solid option. I'm not sure. This might be really enjoyable for me because it will almost certainly make me laugh. I'm not sure how interesting it will be for a vlog or how interesting, because like you're either interested in like a celebrity memoir or you're not, right? So I might keep that one just for myself. And which of these three to share with you guys? Now, I think this is usually the point at which you, and I find out you now, and I found out in the comments later, are screaming at the screen going, pick this one, pick this one. Oh. Okay, I'm going to rule out Thunderhead. I don't know why. I just made that decision. So it's between Elizabeth von Arnim and One Last Song. It's got to be One Last Song, hasn't it? It's got to be. It's Pride Month. It's got to be. What was I even thinking? Older protagonists finding love in a care home. Fuck yeah. Okay, so much joy to be had in here, I hope. Okay, this is it. One Last Song by Nathan Evans. Here we go. Okay, so I said that we would have a little look at the Storygraph reading challenge and see what other people have picked for this prompt and see if we can work out which of the three prompts they've picked for this month. So the options were a book about identity, a queer book, or a book that brings somebody joy. So I am going to cut out the bit where I scroll past the book that I've picked because I don't want you to see what I've rated it. And we will have a little look at what everybody else has picked. The Lilac People is a queer book, I know that. A book about identity, maybe? Darn Knit All. Ah, what a punny title. I love that. Super fun. Bury Your Gaze by Chuck Tingle is on there. Dear Memory, Letters on Writing, Silence and Grief. I wonder if that's a book about identity. Ruby Fruit Jungle. I've never heard of some of these. How fun. Cemetery Boys. A Winter's Tale by Shakespeare. Wow. I wonder if that's the book that brings somebody's joy. I Love You Don't Die by Jade Song. Oh, Reunion. I have this. This was a book that Katie Lumsden read and it made her cry. And Charlie's read it and passed it on to me. So I'm very excited to read this. I'm going to say that wasn't picked for a book that brings joy. Unless, like me, your joy is weeping into the pages of the book that you've just finished. There's so many interesting picks in here. Ooh, Monroe Bergdorf's Transitional. That was good. I suspect that's a book about identity, probably. That's been picked for. Somebody's reading a room above a shop. Oh, that brings me so much joy. So much joy. That brings me joy. And it is also a queer book. And it's a book about identity. I mean, arguably, lots of these books could be about all three. Oh, In Memoriam was so good. Isn't it exciting to see what people have picked? Ooh, Sally Rooney's Intermezzo. I wonder why that was picked. If that was picked for identity or a book that brings somebody joy, if they're a Sally Rooney fan. Written in the Stars is looking like another queer romance there. So fun to see what people have picked. Ghost Ship by Kate Moss. Anyway, on and on it goes. I really recommend having a look at the Storygraph challenge just to see, oh, this looks fun. Pride and Prejudice in Pittsburgh. Again, that looks like a queer romance, doesn't it? Pride and Prejudice themed one. Oh, super fun. Okay, that's the Storygraph challenge. I really recommend having a look, especially if you're stuck, but also just to kind of like play the game of trying to work out which prompt you think people have picked these books for. Anyway, back to the reading vlog.
I know you only in my dreams. You come visit and I make a scene. You know with passion all that we could be. Love is forever, it's always you and me. Save my loving for you.
I'm halfway through One Last Song and can report that it is delightful as I hoped it would be. It is indeed bringing me great joy. We're switching perspectives between two characters. Jim, who's in a care home and really hoping to get home, and he wants to get back to his job, and Jim has some issues with memory loss. He's quite a buttoned up, stiff upper lip sort of chap, and he gets a new neighbour with the arrival of Joan. And Joan is about the most flamboyant gay you can possibly imagine without going full drag queen. He is a wonderful character. He is full of queer sass and cracking one-liners and innuendo and all of that good stuff. He's a lot of fun. So they've sort of fallen out because they've got quite different living styles. Joan likes to play really loud music and make lewd jokes, and that's not Jim's vibe. But they are starting to connect on one or two levels, if you catch my drift. I thought that this was going to be just a really good time, really good fun, which it is. But I am also now getting the impression that it might also emotionally destroy me. I think I'm perhaps in for a few tears at some point. But yeah, it's a delight. So, One Last Song by Nathan Evans. Absolutely gorgeous so far. I have nothing planned for today. I've had a busy few weekends, and June is shaping up to be that's a very noisy dog. June is shaping up to be an incredibly busy month. So this is my one weekend of doing nothing. So there's a good chance that I might go full non-verbal and just not talk to anybody for the rest of the weekend, which means I have plenty of time to finish One Last Song.
Chit-chat, mayday, and the ocean breeze. Sleepless, we're crazy, I just wanna freeze. This moment forever, frame you in my heart. Loving is easy, and you're my secret star. Save my loving for you. I'm never blue, yeah.
Okay, so I've finished this delightful book, One Last Song. I really thought going into this it was going to be a fun bit of fluff, and it was a really fun, light-hearted read, but it also delivered quite a lot more, which was a real pleasant surprise. So it's about these two characters, Joan and Jim, who both end up at a care home, both queer men, and they form this unlikely friendship and partnership. And they're just such fascinating characters because they both navigate the world as queer men so differently. Like, Joan wears his queerness like a coat of armour. Like, the way that he dresses and the way that he speaks and the way that he behaves, he is on the attack. He is on the kind of like front foot all the time. And that makes him quite impenetrable emotionally in lots of ways, and so it takes a kind of like a softer approach to breach that and to get through to that kind of like softer side of him, and that's where Jim comes in. And Jim has lived most of his life sort of almost closeted. He's been out, but just in very, very quiet ways. And so they've both kind of, yeah, they've both navigated the world as queer men in like completely opposite ways. And so at this point in their lives where they're kind of winding down, basically, they're in this care home, and they're both sort of towards the end of their lives, they are learning from each other, and connecting with one another in new ways. And it's a beautiful thing. The book kind of touches on all sorts of different bits and pieces, using the side characters, so the other people in the care home, and the staff and a couple of family members, and it's all really light touch, but doesn't make light of some of the more serious issues of living as someone who feels othered, in a few different ways, not just as a queer person. Oh, it was really special. And it also, obviously, because of the time of life of these gentlemen, it touches on what that's like, how it feels to come to terms with one's own mortality, and what that means for your sense of identity at that time in your life. The thing that I think I liked most was, so Joan has spent his life kind of like fighting for queer rights. He's an activist, and obviously now he's retired. And the story finds a way for him to continue to be an activist and to challenge people's misconceptions and presumptions, and for him to feel like he is still acting in line with his values and not conforming to society's expectations, but in new like micro activisms. And it takes another character to kind of like point out that there are lots of different ways that you can kind of stick it to the man, as it were. Oh, it was just, and I think that was my favourite thing. It was just a really beautiful thing. Yeah, I think Joan had a really, really great character arc, and it was just a really delightful, really special story, which, as predicted, did make me shed a wee tear. So I really would recommend picking this up. If you are looking for a light but meaningful read, if you are in the market for a gorgeous queer love story, if you like an older protagonist like I do, then this ticks so many boxes. It was an absolute delight, and it did indeed bring me joy. So it also ticked off the prompt for this month. I'd love to know, if you're taking part in the TBR Reading Spa, which prompt you got, which book you're picking, or if you're not taking part, which prompt you would have gone for and which book you would have picked. But in the meantime, I hope that you're looking after yourself, and I'll see you again in another video.